Ted Cruz exposes the State Department for discriminating against white people. Walmart is paying their employees more than teachers are getting paid. And the House of Representatives is taking away your guns. All that and more here on The Bald Brad Show. Welcome to The Bald Brad Show. It is Monday, August 1st, and if you're joining me right now this Monday morning, heck, that means you're starting the week off right, folks. And as always, I couldn't be happier than to share these fine mornings with all of you, my friends and true American patriots, where we come together as a community, go over the stories of the day, and bring all the news and information you need to know about. So if you want to join us here at The Bald Brad Show, and heck, we hope that you do, hit that like and subscribe button. If you're over at Rumble, hit the plus and give us a comment down below. And if you're listening on any of the podcast airwaves, Apple, Google, Spotify, etc., leave us a lovely 5-star review. Not only would you be supporting a conservative, but most importantly, you'd be supporting getting conservative thought and ideas out there to new viewers who haven't seen our content or our channel. So your help would be greatly appreciated. With that being said, a lot of stuff is in the news, but a lot of stuff really hasn't changed. We're still in a recession. I know the White House doesn't want to admit it, but we've had 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth. So we are in fact a recession, even though the left is going on Wikipedia and other outlets trying to change the definition in real time. We are in fact in a recession. We're still seeing inflation that we haven't seen for 40 plus years. Joe Biden has no intention to fix that, even though he says he does. We're still paying up the wazoo for gas. You still have this foreign policy debacle going on with Ukraine and Russia, also China, also Iran. I mean, the litany of things happening foreign-wise is just astounding. You also have the U.S.-Mexico border. Somehow the White House administration was saying that, oh, we're just cleaning up Donald Trump's mess, which is just mind-bending and mind-boggling. If you haven't seen that episode, by the way, we uploaded an episode between her and Peter Doocy, meaning the White House press secretary, against the gladiator, Peter Doocy, when he questions her on the border wall. And she says she's cleaning up Donald Trump's mess and they're saving lives, that they care about our military. And then she says somewhere along the lines of, it's not racist what they're doing. But Peter Doocy calls her out on just her saying that it was racist when Trump did it, but all of a sudden it's not racist when she does it. So like I said, go over and check out that video. It is mind-bending. It is astonishing, just the scumminess of this administration and what they're willing to spin and lie to the American people. With that being said, let's jump into our lead story of the day with Ted Cruz exposing the State Department regarding them discriminating against white people. It's really a sight to behold. This comes from Blaze Media. I do want to give them credit because we're using their video. I think they might have got it from C-SPAN or something. But let's go over this together. We'll react in real time, and then we'll move on to our next story. Let's roll it.
Cruz. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ambassador Abercrombie Winstanley. The Biden administration, I believe, is staffed by radicals.
I would agree with that.
The State Department has consistently alienated our friends and appeased our enemies. You're empowered as the State Department's first standalone Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer.
What a title. Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer. That's just another name for wasting taxpayer dollars. There was a role or position at a university, and I'm not even gonna bother saying the name because I can't actually remember which one it's at. I want to say it's either San Diego State or University of San Diego or something like that, was paying like $600,000 or $800,000 for somebody to look at the data and say, hey, we need more black people, we need more Asian people, we need more Hispanics or more white people. And in a nutshell, what we need to do is actually discriminate against certain races to make sure that everybody's on an equal level playing field. We have 25%, 25%, 25%, 25%. It's a waste of money, folks. It's crazy. It is nuts.
Your mandate is to promote a concept on the left called equity, which I think is nothing more than brazen discrimination.
Yes, 100%.
You were appointed in April 2021, and as you extensively testified this morning, you introduced fundamental changes to the State Department hiring practices in line with the mandate of equity to affirmatively and aggressively discriminate. A year after your appointment, in April 2022, the State Department released its, quote, equity action plan to integrate these so-called equity principles into, quote, all aspects of State Department foreign affairs. That very week, just days after you published the Equity Action Plan, and 1 year after you began your tenure, a senior State Department official broadly distributed what I consider to be a very troubling email. I have a copy of that email next to me.
Let's have a look,
Let me
Ted.
read from a part of the email. The email says that hiring practices have developed inside the State Department so that, and I'll quote, that certain candidates could not be hired because they have a disability. They are white men.
Wow.
They are straight white men. They are not of the, quote, right religion. All of these are verbatim quotes from the email of a senior.
Where's the investigations? Oh my God. Can you imagine something like that circulating in a corporate office? Just the malfeasance, the HR violations. But hey, this is how the State Department's being run. This is how the Biden administration's being ran like this. This is how the left wants to run our country. It's okay when they discriminate against people. But when other people do it, private corporations or anybody else, you're going down. You're going to be shut down. Very similar to how they dealt with COVID, right? They'll implement these regulations and these laws on all us peasants down here, but the kings and queens and all the elites up there, they don't have to follow by the rules. Only we do. This is how this stuff works.
Your State Department official. My first question to you is, did you clear this guidance?
Thank you for the question, Senator. I've never seen that before.
You've never seen the email before?
I've never seen it.
So you didn't know it had been sent?
This is the first time I'm seeing it, sir.
What are the odds that it got sent to her
email? You know that it is happening. That the State Department perceives, and this is, I believe, as a result of your work, that they have a mandate to discriminate against, as the email says, to discriminate against people with disabilities, to discriminate against white men, to discriminate against straight white men, and to discriminate against people that are not of the, quote, right religion. I'm not sure what that meant, but I suspect it meant that if someone is a Christian. I don't know that because that's not what the email says. Are you aware these practices are happening at the State Department?
Again, thank you for the question. I am definite and certain that they are not happening at the State Department. But again...
So do you believe the senior State Department official who sent this email was lying?
Senator, I can't comment on I don't know who that's from. I don't know if it's...
He just told you who it's from, lady. And it's very simple. If you are being honest and truthful with all of us, it's a simple answer that, no, this is wrong. This is not what we do. I'm going to look into this. I want to get the name of whoever the senior official is. We need to have the political atmosphere and all this with these people going up in front of Congress. It's just so mind blowing. You could be straightforward, but this is where I think that she's not being truthful. This is where I think that she's lying, is because of the way she's answering all this. It's just political, folks. It's all politics with these people, and it's disgusting.
I've never seen it before.
So you're the chief diversity officer, and you're arguing you are certain discrimination is not happening at the State Department. Is that right? Was that what you're testifying? That's what you just said.
I am saying that it is against the law, and we certainly are not overtly or on purpose breaking the law in the Department of State. Certainly, there are members of our organization who do discriminate, who do harass, who do bully, which is why we are trying to put in place programs to address it and to strengthen accountability for.
Here's a program. Fire them. Get rid of them. Like the second they do it, see you later. That will send a message. But because you're being soft on all this stuff, and you have colleagues, senior officials writing these emails, it's a government document. Basically anybody that's in the oversight committee can just open this thing up and see it. And she's just going to claim here as the chief diversity and inclusion officer that none of this is happening. I would like to point out that the role within itself to create basically equity in a nutshell that would ultimately lead to equality, right? 25%, 25, 25, whatever it may be, would thus have to ultimately be discriminatory in nature, because you would have to be leaving out one subset of group in order to fill out the other subset of group by discriminating against the other subset of groups. So I mean, it's discriminatory in itself. The title itself might as well be Chief Discriminatory Officer. This is wild. Folks, it is a crazy ass time we live in when you have this as a position in the United States government. It's just as crazy as when the progressive left say they want separate dorm rooms for black people, they want separate graduations for black people, they want to literally segregate like school systems in a nutshell. Again, we live in the upside down. It's like Stranger Things in real time.
Those who do indeed break the law.
So you didn't clear this guidance, and after it was sent, you're testifying now that you remained unaware of it, so no one showed it to you. You were in the State Department for a year. You were empowered in your position in an unprecedented way. In your testimony, you talked about creating a DEIA data working group about hiring practices and a dedicated DEIA core precept. And your testimony is you didn't know that this discrimination was happening. My staff can transmit to you the exact header and the details of this email.
Okay.
But I have to say, Ambassador, I find it a little bit amazing that this discrimination is being reported to be ongoing in the administration and you are professing to be unaware of it. You know, I'm reminded from a line from the...
I would like to point out, again, I know I keep pausing it. One, we have to do it for copyright issues. Second, we're a commentary news outlet, folks. That's what we're here for, right? That's why we come to the Bald Brad Show, to get the commentary, to get the good stuff. Look, Karine Jean-Pierre's whole hiring was discriminatory within itself, where the pool was only basically African-American females. Same exact role for the Supreme Court Justice, Ketanji Brown Jackson, where the pool was only I shouldn't say African-American, just black women. You don't have to be from Africa. Hell, you could be from Haiti, you could be from anywhere to fill that role. So that was discriminatory in nature. Folks, in the corporate world, if you were just like, you know what, this is only going to be a listing for black people, that's literally discriminatory, because if a white person were to apply for that position, you go, no. Because of the race or the color of your skin, you're not going to get this position. It's where's the left outcry on this? Can you imagine if any president was like, we're only going to hire a white person, and let's go a step further, we're going to only hire a white female. Everybody should be upset over that, because it's literally discriminating. God, what's going on in the world, especially this administration and the left just being hypocritical, right? I mean, look, if Trump were to do something and Biden were to do the exact same thing, it's 100% okay. Again, we saw it yesterday with Karine Jean-Pierre pushing out the whole racist thing when Trump was in office building a border wall. But now when Joe Biden's going to build border wall, it's not racist anymore. There's hypocrisy. One example of many.
Movie Office Space. What would you say you do around here? What is your job if not to stop discrimination? And unfortunately, I believe what your job in practice is encouraging this discrimination.
Yes, 100%.
This is a manifestation. You just said a minute ago in testimony, your hiring and promotion in the State Department will depend on complying with the edicts from your office. Is it good for the State Department and good for the United States government to be actively discriminating based on disability, based on race, based on being straight white man, or based on not being the right religion? Is that good or bad?
Senator, as I'm looking at the email, it does appear to me, and my eyesight is not great, that people have reported comments. That's certain candidates.
So what it says is, unfortunately, over the past several months, a number of people have reported comments that certain candidates could not be hired because. So these are employees at the State Department saying, we can't hire someone because, and here's what the email lists, they have a disability, they're white men, they're straight white men, or they're not of the right religion.
Indeed. And so I would say comments does not at all say it is indeed happening.
Comments from hiring people saying we can't hire them because of it.
Time of the senator has well expired.
He just read you the email. This is the chief. This would be like a director level, like maybe in a corporation. The person that's leading other people, and she can't understand an email. on what it actually says. People are basically saying, hey, there's people commenting that there's certain hiring practices taking place, and this is what's going on. If you read the last sentence of the email, it says basically this isn't legal, it's not okay. And so he simply just asked you, is this a bad thing or a good thing? The easy answer, it's so easy, is this is bad. It is not good. He gave you a layup just to acknowledge that it's a bad thing. So if you're going to be truthful with all of us and say that you're not doing it, then why can't you just answer the layup question that he's giving you, the low-hanging fruit, and she can't do it? It's not truthful, folks. It's really happening. Discriminatory actions are taking place in the State Department.
I would ask the senator to submit copies for the rest of the committee so we could see it. And if there's an attribution,
sure.
which I don't understand if there is or isn't one, if there's an attribution, then that person should come forward and it should be fully investigated what he has to say. Otherwise, we have an anonymous entity. The next person is...
Does it look like that guy cares? Other than that, we have an anonymous entity. He's just out there in the ether. We don't know who he is. The guy sounds like Alejandro Mayorkas, the DHS secretary. This Mr. Mendez, I'm getting very used to him and seeing him because he is the chairman of this committee. And let me tell you, folks, this guy, in my opinion, is very political, doesn't necessarily want to get to the answers. He will say outright that he does, but if you just listen to his tone, he's sitting there massaging the shoulders of the rest of his Democratic Party there. Look, it's going on. They don't want to admit it. They're okay with it, which is just mind-blowing. The left is literally the disease of this country. The progressive left will destroy this country from the inside out. It's going to happen. It is happening real time. These midterm elections couldn't get any more important. Furthermore, 2024 can't get any more important as well, because you see what happens when you let Democrats run things. They spend trillions of dollars, which, look, I understand Republicans are doing the same thing. I'm not okay when Republicans do it, and I'll call them out if we get one in 2024 for doing the same thing. We need to pay off our debt. You have an immigration crisis. You have an inflation crisis. You have a gas crisis. You have an oil crisis. You have a foreign policy crisis. You have a domestic policy crisis. You have discrimination happening in our own government. I mean, it's literally list after list with this administration and this Democrat Party. Well, in other news, something a little bit different here that I wanted to bring to all your attention and get your input on, as well as your opinion, is we have an Ohio man ditching his teaching job in favor of higher pay at Walmart. I mean, this is crazy because I was told that Walmart, the Waltons, according to Bernie Sanders, isn't paying their employees enough. Well, it turns out literally the state within itself is not paying their employees well enough. And now people are leaving, going to Walmart, the very place where Bernie Sanders doesn't like, AOC doesn't like, Ilhan Omar. Isn't that weird that the states, the Bernie Sanders, or I should say Bernie Sanders of the world, are supposed to support, because they're socialist, open socialists, they're supposed to support this kind of state funding on basically outcompeting the corporations. So a little bit of a contradictory going on here in real world. But again, Democrats dealing with reality, I don't think that happens very often. We have a 28-year-old Ohio man leaving his teaching job in favor of higher pay as a Walmart manager, he announced in a now viral video. You have a lot of these viral videos coming out on TikTok and YouTube, Instagram, all those places. Basically just teachers leaving their career because of pay, because of the kids. The students aren't acting the same way that they used to, meaning they're misbehaving left and right. They're not respecting teachers. I mean, it's so chaotic now what's going on in our school system. You also have teachers leaving because of the practices that they're having to implement with inside the classroom, meaning certain strategies that are ineffective, their workload. I mean, there is a max exodus of teachers, and it's going to at some point impact your son or daughter or your future son or daughter. We have Seth Goshorn has worked as a reading tutor and a second grade teacher for 6 years, according to a video he posted on TikTok earlier in July. He said that the chief reason for his move is the pay, which is far higher than his teaching gig despite not needing a degree. So a lot of times in teaching, they either want you to have a bare minimum of a bachelor's degree in your certain field. So if you're teaching science, obviously science, mathematics, etc. But a lot of times too now what they want to see is you have a master's degree. And obviously you need to be a master of the content you're teaching in order to be a teacher. So he's going to a gig that's paying him like $12,000 more to where you don't even need a degree, compared to a job where you do need a degree. You need to get your state credential. You have to go through all this schooling for it. And you're not even getting paid, that much. And we'll see what his salary was in Ohio here in a moment. Quote, think about how good our teachers can be if they could focus on just teaching and not have to work a second job on weekends. Now, that is true. I work multiple jobs. I don't have to. It's just, hey, you know what? I'm young. I might as well grind it out, right? I don't want to be receiving money from the government. I don't want to be getting handouts from Joe Biden and stuff like that. I want to grind. I want to work hard so that I can expose or bring out those values to other people and show them how they can be on the pathway to being successful in life, kind of going with the Gordon Ramsay route. I'm being careful with my words here on YouTube. But this guy working a second job, what I have to say about that in being a teacher myself is you knew what the salary was going to be when you became a teacher. You have to go through schooling, and you can't necessarily blame you working two jobs on somebody else or the state, because again, you should have known the salary in your state in which you're trying to work. And that if that was not going to be the pay that you wanted, and you didn't have to work two jobs, then you should have went with a different career in the first place. Now, there is the argument to be had of like, look, teachers need to get paid more. Absolutely do agree that there needs to be a bump in pay and that we need to support the teachers, but we'll get into a little bit more of that in a second, because some teachers shouldn't be getting paid the same rate as other teachers. Quote, they didn't choose to have to work a second job. That comes along with it, and that's the thing that I would have loved to see go away. Quote, I absolutely don't want this to be that I'm just trying to discourage anybody from becoming a teacher, he continued. That's not the case. I just want my teacher friends to be paid as they should be. It is discouraging, and there's a lot of reasons why people aren't going into teaching, but one of the main reasons is the pay itself, is that it's just, why would you go get for example, a bachelor's of science, say in mathematics, or become a statistician and go be a stats teacher like me, when you could literally just go work for a major corporation and get paid close to six figures to be a statistician with that same degree. So that's kind of the comparison there. You should get paid for your knowledge as well as the investment of that knowledge that you're embarking upon students. If you're, a statistician, if you're, a physics teacher, something like that, you're clearly not an idiot. You have that knowledge, and it should be given based on your performance as well. So again, we'll go into that in just one moment. Leaving teaching after 6 years to be a manager at Walmart and making more using my degree. So he got paid $43,000 on his teaching job. Going over to Walmart, he's going to be making $55,000 per year before bonuses at his new job. As we know, the government sits there and steals all your money with those bonuses, but he's getting paid, what is that, roughly $12,000 more to go to Walmart. I mean, hell, it's a no-brainer. You're probably, in a nutshell, working less hours working at Walmart than you are teaching. I know there's this conspiracy or this false theory out there that teachers are done at like 2:30 or 3 o'clock. If anybody knows a teacher, a lot of teachers are not done that early unless they're super time efficient. A lot of teachers bring their work home. They stay at work late. They stay at work till it's night. Or like I said, most of them just bring their work home. They have their spouse help them out majority of the time. So teachers, honestly, are really underpaid. And this is coming from a person that was an accountant before and thought that teachers were overpaid in some areas. No. Well, that is true. Some teachers are overpaid in some areas. Some teachers make over $120,000 at a high school level. Yes, folks, that is a real thing. This is all government issued. You can go out and see teacher salaries online. Heck, at some point, at some areas, you can actually look up the teacher's name and see how much they're getting paid. So that's how I know all these things. Obviously, I'm a teacher as well. Goshorn did not clarify what degree he had obtained to enter his previous teaching jobs, which there is like an ROI on that as well, a rate of return. That you would get per degree that you would be going and having. For example, if you got like a liberal arts degree, it's not necessarily going to be as expensive, say, as a master's degree in sciences or whatever. When you move into different realms of different degrees, they cost a different amount of money. But hey, good on him. But the conversation I want to have is we have more of a socialized mechanism for teachers getting paid in the public school system as well as private. And what I mean by that is you can have an English teacher and a math teacher, both at the same year. Say you've been working for 4 years in the public school system, and you'd be getting paid the same exact amount of money. But, that doesn't mean you'd have the same performance level. Does not mean that somebody's working harder than the other person or whatever it is. There's differences in those teachers. The problem that we're having is, one, you're not paying them enough money, but two, you also have this tenure track where you're allowing teachers just to basically get away with whatever they want and not have to worry about their performance levels, the kids' performance levels, and vice versa. And there shouldn't be an equal weight in pay. Some teachers work harder than other teachers. Some teachers deserve to get more pay than other teachers. Some teachers communicate better with their students and parents and faculty than other teachers. Like, there's a lot that should go into the mechanics of pay within the education system, but it's all socialized. meaning everybody gets paid the same roughly, depending on your years of service at the end of the day, which sucks because you could be an astonishing and amazing teacher and get paid the same amount as somebody that sucks at teaching that's tenured, which doesn't make sense to me at all. There needs to be a reworking, but again, folks, the Bernie Sanders of the world, they don't care. They just want to hound at the Waltons that are now basically absorbing teachers. And teachers, like I said, they're going to corporations. They're going to Apple, Google, Walmart, all these major corporations because they're getting paid for their knowledge for things that they know. Like I said, a lot of these teachers that work in chemistry, physics, the mathematics, they are getting just completely absorbed, brought into these corporations because of what they know. I work with stats teachers. I'm a stats teacher myself. All I'd have to do is just go take a data science class or data analyst class and just go be hired and get paid probably $100,000 or more. And somebody might say, well, why don't you do that? Because if I'm doing that type of work, and I kind of did that type of work as an accountant, I don't appreciate working 90-hour weeks. It was cool for a while when you're young. You don't get to see your friends or family. But I really enjoy doing YouTube. I enjoy being a professional referee. I enjoy the work that I do, and I don't want to leave it as of right now. So with that being said, an Ohio man ditches his teaching job to go work at Walmart. So Walmart is now paying more to be a manager than you are being a teacher, which in a nutshell, as a teacher, you are in effect a manager. You're managing what? Upwards of 180 students a day, going through the data, creating content, creating material, making sure that you're up to date on your mastery of the content that you're teaching, all sorts of things. So there we have it regarding the teaching situation. And our last news story of the day. There is a gun grab from the House of Representatives passing a bill banning certain automatic guns. This is such a dereliction of duty. You literally gave an oath that you would protect the Constitution, and now you're going against the very things that are in the Constitution. And most importantly, the Bill of Rights, hell, our Second Amendment that protects our freedom of speech, now they're targeting. The House of Representatives voted largely along partisan lines Friday to pass a ban on certain semi-automatic firearms, though the bill is not expected to make it through the Senate, thank God. The bill, entitled the Assault Weapons Ban of 2022, was passed by a vote of 217 to 213 and is intended to ensure that the right to keep and bear arms is not unlimited. The bill would reinstate the assault weapons ban that was placed in 1994 to 2004 and prohibit the sale of manufacture of certain rifles, including the AR-15s, shotguns, pistols, based on features that they have. Jerry Nadler was questioned on this. He's the chairman of one of the committees. And somebody asked him and said, you're going to be banning common use weapons. And he said, yes, that is the purpose of the bill, is to ban common use weapons, which there is a Supreme Court case that literally said the AR-15 and other common use weapons, actually two Supreme Court cases, that you can't do that. You can't remove a common use weapons from the hands of the American people, that they have a right to ultimately bear arms. And some people are saying, well, you removed a woman's right to abortion. You removed a woman's right to privacy and all these things. Well, first of all, a woman's right to abortion and the zone of privacy / right to privacy to married couples in order to get contraceptives that led into Griswold v. Connecticut, that led into Roe v. Wade, never existed in the first place. As we've said numerous amount of times for those that are frequent viewers of the Bald Brad Show, the Supreme Court justices literally made up those rights. They said from the emanations of the Bill of Rights created penumbras, shadows that you can find basically new rights within. And so that's the difference, is that there was already a right in place that you cannot infringe on somebody's right to bear arms, and they're actively infringing on the right to bear arms, whereas the justices basically removed something that was never there in the first place, speaking about Roe v. Wade. So there's the contradiction between what the left are saying in comparison to what they're trying to say in regards to this of like, well, you moved our rights, we're going to remove something of your rights. Well, you can't do that. Again, it's going to, even if it passed in the Senate, it'd get obliterated in the Supreme Court. And look, if it didn't get obliterated, wow, I can't even speak, obliterate. I sound like Joe Biden, folks. If it doesn't get obliterated in the Supreme Court, I mean, you're going to see an uproar that you've never seen before here in this country. So of course, as you'd imagine, a ton of Democrats hopped on the bandwagon, as well as a few Republicans. I mean, these Republicans need to be ousted, folks. And as you can imagine, they're coming from New York. Okay, so that tells you what you need to say. One of them's Chris Jacobs. He needs to be gone. You also have Representative Brian Fitzpatrick. He needs to be gone as well. So if you live in New York or I think Pennsylvania as well, there you go. Oust those guys. They don't need to be working for you. Today, House Democrats acted by unifying to pass an assault weapons ban to keep weapons of war off our streets, save lives in this country, and reduce crime in our communities. The majority of the American people agree with this common sense action. No, they don't. No, they don't. By the way, that was a statement from Biden, so obviously he doesn't have a clue. The bill is unlikely to pass the Senate since it would require the support of 10 Republican senators to get past their filibuster. And look, those Republicans know if they voted for this thing that they're out. They're never going to see the light of day in terms of working in Congress ever again. Many House Republicans called the bill an attempt to crack down on the Second Amendment. Yes, 100%. And here are the Supreme Court cases that I was mentioning before. This is the first time in American history, I believe, that a chamber of Congress will pass a bill openly defying the Supreme Court's explicit declaration of the rights of the American people. On the House floor, pointing to Supreme Court rulings such as D.C. v. Heller, which held that American citizens have the right to own firearms under the Constitution. The Democrats don't believe that. This is the reason why this is so important, and it's quite scary, is one, like I said, you have these officials that are supposed to uphold the Constitution, and they're not doing it. And second, they want to actively remove your guns. They want to chisel away at it. They might not get all of them right now, but they're actively trying to remove a little bit, which is limiting, right? I mean, literally, they are going against the word infringement. And for some reason, honest to God, I don't understand why Democrats can't understand this, that you are not able to infringe by chiseling away at the weapons that we're allowed to utilize. And I even go a step further. I am so pro Second Amendment. I think you should be able to own whatever damn weapon you want. That's where I'm at on it. So I'm actually a lot further to the right than I would say a lot of conservatives, Republicans are. I think you should be able to own automatic rifles. I'm okay with that. I mean, the whole purpose of literally an automatic rifle was invented, yes, to kill human beings. But if we're supposed to go against a tyrannical government that would ultimately be using human beings to fight against, I would like to be powered by a machine that is capable of killing those that are trying to kill me. So that's where I'm at with that. But Democrats don't understand that word limiting. And it's scary, like I said, because at some point you might not have any guns because they'll slowly chisel away as time goes on. Yeah, they might remove maybe a Smith & Wesson, whatever handgun might come next. Maybe revolvers. Maybe we're looking at the Glocks, removing certain firearms. Once those are gone and you can't manufacture those anymore, because maybe they'll put in some regulations or they'll just sit there and put in certain violations and fees upon these firearms where basically drive you out of business. Very similar to the COVID-19. If you had businesses that had a certain amount of employees that did a certain amount of something in terms of COVID-19, you'd receive a certain penalty of like $100,000 per violation. It would just run you out of business. And we could see that type of thing happening with firearms as well, to the point where now you have that. Sooner or later, they're just going to start banning the other ones that weren't on the list, and then you're screwed there. And now you got no firearms. And now, we lead into what we've seen in past history, where if you have a tyrannical government, either that's foreign or domestic, how are you going to be able to protect yourself? So this is one of the wildest things that I've ever seen, where you got Congress actively trying to remove your guns. It's so baffling to me that Democrats are on board with this. I mean, it just shows you how far left they've gone, honest to God. We got Jim Jordan, one of the last few American patriots in Congress, said that if signed into law, the legislation would ban millions of guns that Americans already own. While Representative Chip Roy pointed to border crisis as one of the reasons why Americans need to stay armed. Quote, "We shouldn't be talking about disarming the American people when it is my colleagues on the other side of the aisle that are leaving the American people exposed to dangerous cartels and dangerous narcotics flying into our communities, and dangerous criminal gang members and criminals that are coming in and harming the American people, including people that are affiliated with terrorist countries and organizations." Democrats don't care, Chip. Democrats don't care. If they cared, they would have solved this border issue a while ago, a long time ago, 18 months ago. They don't care about the American people. They want to disarm them so they can gain more power, implement more policies, more regulations, more overreach upon the American public, and slowly bring them down while the elites continue to grow in power. That's what they want. They don't want the American people to have the power. They think they know best for us. The Democrat Party thinks they know best for us. And the reason why I'm highlighting the Democrat Party is because, yes, there are some Republicans that think they know better and they want that power grab. But in a nutshell, conservatives want limited government. We want smaller government. We want the power to be hands of the American people. We want the power to be in the hands of the localities where people can actually have a difference where they live, rather than giving everything to the federal government and then giving everything to the state. So we need to keep it on a locality level amongst the American people, not these knuckleheads in the Democrat Party that clearly want to do a shellacking on the American Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, our freedoms and liberties that we have, our God-given rights to bear arms. I mean, there is such a power grab here from the Democrat Party, it is ridiculous. You also have somebody, a representative from Pennsylvania, Guy Reschlacher, and I'm definitely butchering his last name, said this is a gun grab at the end of the day, and that's what it is. I mean, you're going to have freaking officials, government officials showing up on your front doorstep demanding that you give and hand over your firearms. You also had last month, Biden signed the most expansive gun control legislation in decades following support from Republicans in the House and the Senate. So whenever you have these mass shootings come up, whenever you have a lot of crime taking place, what they want to do is remove the guns and the firearms from law-abiding citizens that statistically don't virtually ever create crime. I'm saying virtually ever. There are some of those that are firearm owners that do commit crimes, obviously, but nowhere near those that obtain them legally, or those that obtain them illegally and commit crime with those firearms. It's so disproportionate. It is mind-boggling, but that's what they want to do. Take the guns away from law-abiding citizens and just say, hey, a lot of the criminals have the guns. Who cares? And they'll say, well, we're not for that. We'll apprehend them when a crime is committed. Yes, that is the problem, you idiots. Not you watching, obviously, the Democrats that say this stuff of like, you're going to take away the gun after the crime has been committed. So that person that was just shot and killed because you took away their right to bear arms was killed by somebody else that, in a nutshell, you gave them the right to bear arms because they are going to obtain it illegally, killed the guy that you took the rights from, but you'll make sure to get the gun after. And people go, well, where the hell are you pulling this from? This seems crazy, Brad. You seem like you've lost it now, man. That's not really happening. No, it is happening. And it happened under the Obama administration with Fast and Furious case, where literally you had the ATF handing over guns, and the only way that they were going to get them back was once a crime was committed, and basically the guy was apprehended or the gun was just left behind. And they could track it ultimately to the sales from Fast and Furious case from the ATF. Was it alcohol? Was it trade in firearms or something like that? Tobacco and firearms, tobacco firearm or whatever. It's just like, it's an old case. Back in Obama, Eric Holder was a part of it. There's a whole debacle with it. It's unbelievable of what our government is willing to come up with by handing over firearms to the cartels and other criminals at the end of the day. But, hey, this is their whole plan. We're supposed to trust all these people to not only bring us the facts, that's a quote from Karine Jean-Pierre, but also, hey, trust them with our rights. Get out of here with that, as they sit there and try to basically do a gun grab in the House of Representatives. Well, folks, there you have it. That is the news of the day. As always, I would love to know what you think about these segments here on the Bald Brad Show. So leave us a comment. YouTube wants to see that interaction so we can grow here. And folks, we are growing here at the Bald Brad Show by a lot, and I couldn't be happier because we are grassroots. We don't get support from anybody. We only support ourselves here at the Bald Brad Show, as well as you supporting by hitting that like and subscribe, commenting all the time, and being a frequent viewer. Some of you are absolutely amazing. I always see in the comment section. I really do enjoy spending these mornings with all of you. With that being said, again, hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you later here on the Bald Brad Show.